What's up, fellas?
Nothing much. Good evening, everyone. Nothing much. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a new edition of Real World News TV with myself, Reggie Kearney. We got Derek Terry, and we got Boss Lady, Tony Breedlove.
Stop saying that.
Okay, Boss Lady. Well, look, check this out. We want to talk about Kraft and Kelly, okay? And then we need to just talk about it. But we want to look at the issues surrounding them now and what brings on a man's desire or even a woman's desire to go out and, pay for sex, okay? And what things causes our society to drift that way. And also the big thing that's happening, how is it supplied, okay? What fuels prostitution? And so we want to look at the human trafficking side of it also. According to the U.S. State Department, 600,000 to 800,000 people are trafficked across international borders every year. Okay, and that's a lot of people, okay? Most of them are female, some children. There might be even some men being trafficked, okay? But it's generating about $32 billion annually. Okay, that's a lot of money. And that, there's tax-free money, okay? Because people aren't getting paid for. So we thought we would take time, to discuss that. We talk about politics a lot and a whole lot of other different issues, but this is a big issue also because so many young ladies here in this country go missing every year for one reason or the other. And as you know, R. Kelly, he had his own stable of young ladies that was living with him. And Kraft, at his age, being a billionaire, he probably could send the chauffeur out to pick somebody up and give him a couple of dollars and bring him back to the house. But he decided to go to the massage parlor for 5 minutes. Okay, so what's your thoughts, Derek?
Well, I didn't, as far as R. Kelly, I didn't see the special or the show, but I will say that someone who's listened to R. Kelly's music for years and followed him, that I wasn't the least bit surprised about all the stuff that I've heard. I have family in Chi-Town. Not to say that my family told me, but the rumors and speculation and all that has been out there. So as Black folks to sit here and say we surprised, this has been going on for a minute. So it's one of those things where, me, I have a daughter, and I don't know the situation where those young ladies were brought there, but there's no way in hell that I would allow my daughter to go. It did just not happen. I don't care how much money she make. I'm gonna be there, and because I don't, just because someone's a superstar, you mean you trust them. I can't put that much trust in somebody I don't know, and I would it's a sad situation all the way around. And I don't know their whole situation, but the fact of the matter is they thinking they was going to go to work and said, no, you're going to work, but you're going to do this. Then if you don't, then you risk either being deported or sent back or something happened to your family. So, those threats are real. And, I think that's something that, we need to take seriously, because it could be not necessarily you, but it could be somebody and what do you do when they're put in that situation?
Tony?
You know what? I how do I say this without being ghetto? Trafficking. That is just, it's weak. It's weak that you would take advantage of someone who is either less fortunate or they're just weak to society, being able to come up and take care of themselves, or they're being caught in the most vulnerable state in their lives. It's a cowardly act, that you can take someone and make them do things to satisfy your sexual proclivities or someone else's proclivities. It's asinine how, say, our government understands that this is something that's going on, but you don't hear a lot being done to get rid of it. You just don't hear it, because the time that we did our show, this was maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, when we did a show on sexual exploitation and trafficking. We actually had a gentleman on who worked in the law enforcement field, or in it was like a sting kind of operation that they had going on then. But even then, the numbers were not at what we have displayed in the description. It's between 600 and 800,000 people. Those numbers were right at about maybe 3 to 4. 3 to 5, somewhere around there. So just over the period of time of, say, maybe 4 years or 5 years that we did that show, those numbers have increased greatly. So my question would be to you and Derek, or even anyone who is listening in or watching tonight's show, how did we get to that number just 4 years ago, when we were talking about 300 to 400,000? How did we get to 600 to 800? Where are they finding these young people, these women, these children?
Well, I think a big part of it is, in my opinion, just the advent of social media. And I think that, lack of a better word, there's people that run these businesses that are careless, so they're being caught, which, as they should. Mm-hmm. What you also have is, when you look at prostitution is probably one of the oldest professions in the world. And whether it's through means of money or goods or whatever it may be. So, and that's actually a separate case. We're looking at human trafficking, which is possible.
Well, yeah, because prostitution would be something that is more localized. It doesn't cross those lines unless they are taking prostitutions from that particular industry and trafficking them.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is not the prostitution in a sense where you have women that are out there selling, or maybe men out there selling, a service. Where human trafficking, they're forced into prostitution, and those are two separate things. So I'm gonna, just briefly talk about the human trafficking when we talk about forcing the prostitution, and when I've traveled in countries where you literally knew that was the case, mm-hmm. and a lot of times, I'm not going to say that our government has a stake in it.
Why wouldn't you say that?
A lot. No, but what I will say is a lot of it is crossed along racial lines, and if they're like, when you look at R. Kelly. Had he probably did that to somebody non-black, he'd probably be in jail right now. He'd be in jail right now. No ifs, ands, or buts. He'd be in jail right now.
You think so? Because I don't think we have all the true numbers of women who had been affected, because, it was just recently that you had women in these organizations and even in law enforcement in Chicago who were asking women to come forward. Those are the women that have not been seen on camera as part of that docuseries that Lifetime had.
But I honestly believe, had it been someone who was blonde and blue-eyed and he did what he did, and I'm saying I didn't see the special, but people had said that society didn't care because it were victims to this. Mm-hmm. And to a degree, I agree. When you look at missing kids, we had to push the media just to put black kids or missing people on TV.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's still a struggle. So I'm not saying it's necessarily a racial thing, but what I will say is when you have to look at men and how they value women. And if we're not addressing this, remember a bulk of the leadership is men. So how seriously do men take this versus women? I know women probably and we as humans, we should be taking this seriously regardless of what the sex is.
I agree.
But women, men aren't. Well, men and women, I would say society as a whole is not taking it serious, because when you look at human trafficking, most of the people dealing with that are involved as victims of human trafficking are being brought in from other countries, okay? And they live in poor lives in other countries, and they've been brought to the United States with a promise of a better life. And that was a case down in Florida with the massage parlor that Kraft went to. They were women from China. They've been lured into the country with a promise of a better life. And this was their life, doing sexual favors. They were living in the building, living in the massage parlor, eating off a hot plate, and having the conditions for living was just terrible. When you look at trafficking in America, a lot of it comes from the young ladies, and like you said, Derek, social media, being naive to the fact that everybody can't be Beyonce, okay? Everybody can't be a superstar, and a lot of times these guys, pimps, dons, whatever you want to call them, will promise them a life of luxury and promise to make them superstars. But once they get them in that apartment and get them in a car, it's a whole different story. So and like I said, for a lot, I would have to kind of agree with Tony too, that I'm pretty sure that a lot of higher up officials in this country know what's going on. You're talking about $32 billion industry, okay?
Well, yeah, because because we take the instance of Robert Kraft, okay? He's got millions of dollars, right? Billions. Right. So, I think he just happened to get caught up in this sting. It wasn't as if they were looking for him, that he was performing these acts. However, when they probably realized who he was as they were doing surveillance, they did come across, a way of getting pictures of him in the act, and having sexual acts performed on him. So I think that because he had money, people knew that this is what was going on, that he was, taking part in this proclivity that he has for sleeping with prostitutes, but it just happened to be that it was a sting for human trafficking.
Yeah,
because anytime you go to but you go to a massage parlor, and if you are then allowed to either perform sexual favors or have them performed on you, then damn well that these girls are there trafficked. Come on.
Now I have a question, because to be honest with you, I really don't know. I'm trying to go online, but you being that you live in Nevada, are there parts of Nevada where this, not human trafficking, but where prostitution is legal?
Yes, it is, and it would be it would be on the outskirts of Las Vegas.
So here's the
about a small town like the Pahrump area.
So I guess here's the question when it comes to Kraft. He did something which was illegal in the state of Florida. Would it have been legal in the state of Nevada in that particular area?
Probably, well, not in that setting, because they have whole houses. The Bunny Ranch, take that for instance. It is allowed there, but if you're talking about everyday, businesses such as massage parlors or things of that nature, no, because there is zoning for prostitution here, believe it or not.
Yeah, because I guess with me and probably why most, surely his fans and the New England Patriots fans who will look at it and say, well, it's really no big deal. Although he did break the law in Florida, at the end of the day, they look at it as receiving services from a prostitute. This way, that's really how it's going to come about. And the R. Kelly is a little bit different.
Yeah, that's a little bit different. Before we move on to hold that thought, because there are a couple of comments I do want to read. Nicole Bennett, she says, I agree. This industry is making too much money for higher profile people to stick their head in the sand. I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. How do you have that much money, or how do you have no money? Okay, you could be broke as broke. But if you understand that that is what is going on in our country and crossing international lines, then you would think that something should be put in place to, take that shit out of the game. But, it's money. Then, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Reggie.
You got to realize most of these white boys, that's what they into, okay? They're getting their kicks from being involved, and they pulling some brothers along with them. But these guys that got money, that's their environment, that's their game, that's their relaxation, okay? That's what they're doing. They don't care.
You brothers do it too.
Huh?
There's some brothers
do
it too. I'm saying some rich ones.
Yeah. They don't care because Kraft knew good and daggone well what he was doing, okay?
Yeah, I believe
the girl probably couldn't speak no English. When he told the girl to give him a blowjob, the girl probably looked at him stunned, trying to figure out what he was saying. He probably had to point at her and give her directions of what to do, okay? So Kraft knew exactly what was going on. He's been there before, and so he knew what was going on. He knew the people that were there.
Right, right.
So these guys are putting their money into it, Hey, it's a crazy world, so, they're doing disservice to women.
Right. So Erica Blackwell Terry, any relation, Mr. Terry?
You said Blackwell Terry?
Yeah.
I know Erica Terry. I don't know Erica Blackwell.
That's what I said. Erica Blackwell Terry. You are not listening. So
Erica Terry.
Miss Erica, she wrote a long comment. If I put it up, Erica, I'm going to show you what it does. It covers everybody up. So
That's okay.
I got to take it down and read it. But she says, hello, everyone. Oftentimes, prostitution is trafficking. Anytime someone else is profiting or benefiting off the misuse of other human benefits is trafficking. There are several types of pimps. It's not Hollywood. Very few agree to be prostituted by clear choice. American prostitution or prostitutes are prosecuted, and foreign victims are just seen as just as that, victims. Care to comment?
Derek?
It's your relation.
I agree. I'm saying because I don't think somebody wakes up and say, "Hey, I'm going to be a prostitute." It's not in them, and there's something that either happened in their life where either they were forced, or the traumatic experience to where they saw it as no other choice. Like when we look at Maya Angelou, I think that he was, and you look at how she evolved to what she is today. And I don't know the circumstances behind it, but I think anytime men or women are taking advantage of somebody and paying them money for it, there's a psyche, something that stays with you forever. That I'm not saying you sold your soul, but you sold your body, or you sold whatever for a purpose. This is no different than really a drug dealer. A drug dealer is saying, look, I got to do what I got to do. But do you? Are there other ways to make money besides selling drugs? Are there other ways to make money besides prostituting or being a pimp? To me, a pimp is just somebody who don't want to work and basically wants to control somebody.
Exactly. So Nicole Bennett, she's asking the question, do you think that the NFL will simply slap Kraft on the wrist? Do you think he'll just get a slap on the wrist?
No, they're gonna give it to him. He's gonna pay a price for his little 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah, but what price will he pay? Come on, you're talking
a couple million. About $1 million.
I'm guessing that they will have conversations with the players union, because when you look at all the players who have gotten fines or they've had to miss games for either similar infractions or infractions smaller than his. They want it to be equivalent to what they have, if not greater. So he's going to get something. I don't know what. I know that the extreme is to take away the ownership of his team, but I know that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
Not for misdemeanors. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
But I believe something will happen. What I don't know, something will happen.
So when we look on, oops, sorry, I'm throwing stuff over here. So when we look at the case of R. Kelly, you're talking about 3 decades of sexual exploitation. What do you think will happen to him when you talk about a person who barely could get up the money to get out of jail? He couldn't even post his bail. He was having a problem.
You better look out for Debo when he get in prison, okay?
Well, he might welcome Debo, because I understand he swings both ways.
Yeah, well, he's going to prison, okay? Because really, this time he doesn't have the money to pay people off, okay? And so the people are going to come forth this time, and it's going to crush him. You know, I was looking at an interview they had with his brother, and his brother was trying to, and they always try to make the perpetrator sound like a victim. And he was saying that, you know, R. Kelly was molested as a kid and all this kind of stuff, made to have sex with young girls when he was a kid, you know, or older women was a kid. A lot of this is stuff that he was harboring and stuff that, you know, he grew up with, okay? But that doesn't make it right, okay? And, you know, he should have had common sense to figure this thing out, that what he was doing was wrong. I mean, you know, it was like when he hooked up with Leah, you know, and that was definitely, you know, should have been a child molestation issue, but, you know, he paid the parents off, and the parents say, oh, yeah, we approved it for them to get married and stuff like that, you know, so he's got a long track record, but he's been able to pay his way out of it, okay? Yeah. You know, and that's what he's been doing. And it's come to an end.
And I think the other part of it, and like I said, it's a sad situation all the way around, but, you know, me and my wife talk about this, that we have come across kids that have either been sexually abused or, you know, or something sexual in nature as a child, and they literally have not got the counseling or the mental health counseling to get over that. Now, I don't know his situation. You know, this is based on what his brother said, but, you know, just think if he was going through that as a child and no one sought to get him mental health, and it's a domino effect. I'm saying it doesn't make it, and I always tell people, it doesn't make it right. But us as a society, we really have to address mental health. We have to also look at sexual predators or what they are. Most sexual predators have been sexually abused. And most sexual predators are most likely someone that you know within your family. Right. Because the family made a choice. And I'm just speaking, and this goes across all races. I don't care what race you are. I know that whoever did this, but we don't want to, you know, just keep it to yourself, or somebody might get hurt. So, you know, I think when we look at the R. Kelly situation, it's deeper than that. I'm saying you have young girls who are going to be traumatized. If they were sexually abused by him, and I have to say alleged because, you know, everyone's innocent proven guilty, but I believe he did it. July, I believe he did it. So, but they're going to have to get some type of counseling, because who's to say that they may sexually abuse somebody as they get older because of what happened to them at 14 or 15 or whatever. And 9 times
out of 10 that will happen, because I mean they've proven that. Let me go to a comment.
Lisa Dancer.
Wait, where is that?
Lisa Dancer. She had a comment.
Go ahead, Reggie.
We all know that race is a big factor, and it is.
Yeah, it plays a big factor.
Yeah, but look, and then he had another comment also. But while we're talking about race having a big factor, we got to look at our community from back in the day. Okay, we had a lot of sexual exploitation going on in our communities, and like Derek said, it starts with the family. Okay, when I was in college, which was a long time ago, I dated a young lady, and we were very close. And I tell you, I would have married we've got to the point, I really wanted her to be my wife, okay? But she had some issues that were brought on from being raped as a young lady by a relative, okay? And this was back in the 70s, late 70s when I was in college. And during that time, families didn't want to hear that kind of stuff, okay? And she talked about, she talked about how she talked to her parents, she talked to family members, but nobody would believe what she was saying, okay? So she had that filter and that blockage of really, giving herself to another man to say for longevity for somebody who really loved her, okay? And so we have to deal with that in our communities, and we still have it going on in our communities even today, where the uncles and the cousins or even the brothers, fathers also are attacking these young ladies, and messing up their lives some kind of bad.
But I think that, but you know what, and I want to kind of touch on what you were saying about, young women back in the day when they would blow the whistle on these folks, whether they were family members or friends. It wasn't that they didn't believe them, because I truly believe that in a lot of cases back then and even today, when the victim does tell, they believe it. But then something in their mind has to be doing a somersault or running on the hamster wheel, trying to figure out, okay, well, if we report him, then will he stop giving money? How will that affect my livelihood? You got some sick ass people in this world.
There's the other thing, because Lisa Dancy, she said something that, I don't know if it's an old African proverb or what, but what happens in this house stays in this house.
And that's how it was.
That's how it was in the South. It's everywhere doing it.
Yeah. But I wanted to touch. Where to go at? John Brown. Maybe a little off track.
Yeah, I saw that. It was interesting.
But he wants to say, let's say a woman meets a man in the bar. They decide to make love. She starts complaining about her bills and her living conditions. He feels bad for her, so he gives her money to help her out. She does that to other men as well. What do you call that? I call that pimping, and that's what I call it. She is pimping. She is pimping, and what I would, and if basically you can call her a lollipop because you're gonna be a sucker. The way I look at it, because if you know that she does that, depending on the community, they say like Charles County, it'll get around. But just New York City, she may be able to get away because it's so big. But it doesn't make it right, meaning that although she is pimping for money, it doesn't necessarily guarantee to have sex. So you don't want to force yourself on somebody just because you give them money.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily tie into trafficking or prostitution. This is prostitution, I guess, of money without a service. She just basically, but I just basically wanted to share that comment. And I think my wife said something.
Yeah, I like what your wife said.
Oh, she said our community really needs to address these. We can no longer afford to keep protecting predators, which I totally agree. And I know he's not on this right now, but Delegate C.T. Wilson has been a strong, ardent advocate for prosecuting predators, up to 35 years, whatever the statute of limitations. Years, the state house was fighting them. And, I think some of it, it had to do with the Catholicism, where the Catholic priests didn't want that, because guess what? Now you open up those wounds. And my thing is, you have religious figures who, and we already know right now, so if you're Catholic and you're offended, hey, my bad, it is what it is, but you got a bunch of predators. But believe me, there's some other religions that have it as well.
Yeah.
The problem is people look at Catholicism as the cream of the crop, when for hundreds of years they've been straight, just and honestly, I don't, although we're talking about art and we're talking about Kraft, I don't see people extremely pissed off over what's going on in the you know, what's going on with the Catholic priest. I don't. I'm literally.
You know why? Because the Catholic Church has money. The Catholic Church is basically its own community within its community. That's why. You know, so there is going to be protection of the priest who
no more
have a sickness for little boys and shit like that. You know,
well, there was protection. That protection's gone now, and as it should have been gone a long time ago.
It should have been gone a long time ago.
The question raises: who was those politicians had to know that this stuff was going on? Those universities, of course they do. And my thing is, and R. Kelly, I get a little upset when I'm thinking, wait a minute, he did what he did. He deserves what he gets. But the Catholic Church has been doing this for years. I guarantee you more people saw that R. Kelly thing than put up a fuss about thousands of mainly young boys, but as well as some girls who've been molested by these so-called patriots of God.
You know what? But see, you know what?
It happens in all the churches, okay?
It does.
The Catholic churches got called out on it, but it's been happening in the black churches too, where the pastor been counseling little girls and women and whatever, and have had relationships with them and everything. It's just crazy out here, you know. And you just can't turn away from it. You can't get away from it. You know, and it's never going to, the problem is it's never going to end. It's going to be a problem until the world comes to the end, because men and some women are always going to figure out a way to exploit another woman or another man, whatever it might be. You know, who knows? You know, because it's all about sex, okay? And that's what it boils down to, a thrill. Like I said, Kraft, 77 years old, and all he could muster up was 15 minutes, okay? And he was out of there. You know, the driver waited for him.
So here's my question. And do I still have connect? My wife said I was losing connection. Can y'all still hear me?
Yeah. We can hear you. Sometimes you get a little sketchy over there.
Okay, sorry about that. It must be where I'm at. But you know, me and I'm all about solutions. You know, we all can sit here and we can complain, but I'm all about solutions. So my thing is, me, if I had to give advice to anybody out there that was seeking the advice, the first thing that you want to do is make sure that you know where your local know that number 911, and never feel that you are going to be. And I think that, believe me, that I know for a fact there are, I don't know the numbers, but as we speak, someone right now is being forced into prostitution as we speak.
I'm actually pulling it up. Hang on.
And we, especially young, middle school, high school girls, and, we have to do a better job looking at the warning signs. The first thing you don't do, if you don't recognize a car, you don't go to it. They believe me, they'll lure you. Hey, how you doing? And we have to see something, tell somebody, whatever. And if you see a vehicle that doesn't belong, we need to say something. If you know that you have a sexual predator that's in your, needs to be aware of it. That we can't control, have too much say over where they live at, because the state, I believe, there's certain halfway houses around the state. In Charles County, we have a lot. My wife, she stays on top of that. She, when we moved, she's like, oh, can't move over here. Too many sexual predators. So, and there is a website that will tell you, I don't know it, but my wife, she may find it and put it on here, but it tells you where all the sexual predators stay at, because they have to register. They have to register as a sex offender. Now, unfortunately, that's the ones who've never been caught. Sick.
I just I actually posted the National Human Trafficking Hotline. That number, if you need help, is 1-888-373-7888. Again, the National Human Trafficking Hotline, 888-373-7888. I'm actually trying to put it up in the the banner so people can see it while they're viewing. I hope I can do this, you guys. Pray for me. Oh my gosh. But yeah, it's, you know, it's a problem that we as human beings should be all on top of. You know, I don't think that, you know, like, I can't remember who said it, you know, what happens in this house stays in this house. I don't believe in that motto. I believe that for too long it has gone on that, you know, people are made to feel like they have to be silenced, put a gag over their mouth. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, no pun intended, but people were made to believe that, you know, it's not good to come forward. No, you need to come forward. You need to be able to put these predators, you know, away. You know, enough is enough. And it's sad that we have come to this as human beings. This is the world we live in, where our children are not safe, our women are not safe. There are some men who are out there trafficking men, young boys. We've got to be a part of the solution in stopping this. And I'm really glad that you guys decided to step outside of the political box and come with a subject matter like this tonight. It's important. It's gravely important that we talk about it.
Well, I'm concerned. You know, I have daughters and I have granddaughters, and you know, I'm concerned. You know, we got to clean this world up. You know, see, I've been caught a charge at my age, and I'll probably spend the rest of my life if somebody touched one of my girls. Okay, my grand. Okay,
and I think anyone, and it's unfortunate, but you know, 100% of the people are not in line with this, because if that was the case, you know, we wouldn't have any sexual predators. But what I will say is that, you know, a vast majority of my family is female. You know, I literally can say that my female cousins, they're the one, whenever I had to go to Alabama, my mom, you know, of course she was there, my dad, but I was always, you know, taught to respect women. And when my daughter came into my life, you know, you talking about overprotective. I was, and I'm still overprotective, but given her, as well as my wife, giving her foundation to where she knows right from wrong, she knows how to defend herself, she knows how to speak up, and she knows not to be caught in those situations. And I think what a lot of parents need to be mindful of is that, yes, we want our kids to have their freedom. We want them to be diverse and go out there and, you know, make mistakes, because we make mistakes. You definitely have to learn from them. But some of the, you know, a mistake like this, if you say, for instance, you know, you're not supposed to get in the car with somebody, but because they look cute or she looks good or whatever it may be, oh, you know, especially if you go to some of these foreign countries.
Right.
And you talk about foreign countries. I saw a documentary a while back where these white boys, they be going to Thailand, you know, messing these young girls, you know, and it's no big deal. So I think when you go to another country with that type of mindset, that you're going to mess with 14 and 15-year-old girls, when you come back to this country, you still got that same mindset, and you're going to get yourself in trouble over here because you're going to try that same thing over here. When you can't catch a flight to Thailand. Right. Right. And that's but people, people, I think they recognize it, but they don't act on it. I mean, you know, when I was coming up as a girl, and I don't really like telling this story, but it's to be able to help somebody to recognize that there could be potentially a problem. When I was coming up, I was, you know, when we moved into our house in the neighborhood, it was all new people there, all new homes built from the ground up. I think I was about maybe about 7 or 8. And the neighbors, you know, they watch the kids grow, and, you know, the neighborhood is flourishing until
your daughter, my age, at the age of 11 or 12, walks down the street and the neighbor catcalls a young girl. Me. Those are the things that I think people don't pay attention to. It's not cute. It's not meant to be a compliment. Had I not had my dad and able to tell him what this neighbor had said, which was disgusting, then who knows what would have happened, you know? So we've got to pay attention. These things are still happening every day, you know, where men are, you know, catcalling and saying obscene things to young girls as early as 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. So we have to be aware of the folks that are in our neighborhoods. You think it's all safe, but just pay attention to your neighbors. You have to.
And I remember, like, for me, I had a couple personal experiences, and they literally stayed dormant for years. And I remember, but I do remember when I was in preschool, whatever it was, and I was getting babysat, and I just remember doing things that I probably shouldn't have been doing with the babysitter, but I was. And I remember it was one of my dad's German friends, but I know we was sitting in the room. So, you know, of course, you know, back then the adults were in one room, the kids in one room. So I'm sitting there with the German girl, and I'm sitting there doing things I probably shouldn't have been doing, but she was 3 years older than me. And I'm like, okay. And then when I was in 3rd grade, there was another, this girl, I think was in 5th grade. And she was going in 6th grade. I was going to 3rd grade that year. And then every day we'd be on top of the hill, and I was doing things that I probably shouldn't have been doing. And then it remained dormant. And maybe 3-4 years ago, you know, I went to counseling for some other stuff. It came out. I was like, wow. But it didn't affect me to the point to where I turned out that way, but it really affected a lot of the relationships that I had growing up. You know, I they didn't last long. You know, because the way I looked at it, these were sort of like relationships that didn't last long. So, you know, put it like this: by the time that I was probably in 2nd grade, I knew the human anatomy.
And that's the important part, is that I think, like, with us being able to sit on this show and share those experiences and open up and be transparent as to our experiences, then it might be a help to somebody else to be able to recognize, why do I do certain things a certain way, or why do I have these thoughts? You know, you don't know, because just like you have suppressed it for years.
And like with my son and daughter, they knew all their body parts, and we would tell them, it's no one should be touching whatever unless a doctor, and they'd be touching it for that reason. So they knew the exact names. And not to say that, you know, I can't, because you would never think that, you know, a female who's 3 years, you know, as a kid would do something like that. When I sit back there and I digest all this, I'm thinking they may have been molested as a younger, and because of that, and you know, it didn't seem right, you know, and it just suppressed, and then it really, relationship wise, I was like, you know, wow, they was with me, now they're not with me, because I emotionally attached to people. So I'm thinking, oh, now she gone? Oh, for real? Seriously? So I think for me, and I'm fortunate that you know, I'm with the love of my life, and she ain't let me go yet. So
but you know what, but the thing is that I just truly believe that there are so many people out here around this nation, around the world, that have either suppressed it or they've lived with it and just didn't know what to do with it. You know, that's the important important part is that you have to understand what to do with it, because anything that you have gone through, you might not feel at the time that it was traumatic enough. You know, some girls might have been touched and say, oh, well, it was just a touch, you know, but how does that affect you in the world or in the day that you live in now? You know, so we don't know, but it's important to be able to verbalize it and to recognize it for what it is. And you can take your own experiences of having those things happen to you and teach your children. You know, like you say, when you talk to your kids, you know, a doctor should be touching you there, and only a doctor. You know, you have to teach your children that it's wrong, and not, you have to make sure that they understand that it's not their fault, because they're children. These are adults with sicknesses, and then they prey on babies and little children and even grown women. This is what trafficking and exploitation is all about. Somewhere in their own history, in their own DNA, they are living with what had happened to them. Otherwise, they wouldn't feel that it's okay.
Yeah, because I knew enough to know it wasn't okay for adults. I knew that much. But 3-4 years as a kid, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm thinking that was normal. To be honest with you, I'm honestly thinking that was normal. You know, probably the only one that probably wasn't normal was when I was kindergarten, but I remember that vaguely. You know, I remember parts of it. But I know, you know, even with the students that I've taught over the years, I always tell them, you know, especially when I see young men disrespecting young ladies, I said, you have a sister, yes. You want somebody to treat your sister like that? I wish they would. Then why is it okay to treat her like that?
You do it right.
Yeah. So that's how I try to get the mindset. Then of course you have some. Okay, what about a girlfriend? Mm-hmm. Well, whatever. So you may have that one where you have to continually break it down till you finally find that one female figure. Mm-hmm. And if it's for a female, that male figure, do you want someone treating your little brother like that? Right. Or doing these things? So, you know, those are talks that I've had with some of my students to help them really assess the situation before it gets there. And I've had it, and I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate. I've had to deal with one where I literally had to have that student turn a family member in. Wow. And it was
that's devastating.
You know, because I noticed just the behavior, the way she was acting. I was like, what is wrong with you? And, you know, you went from nice to all of a sudden, and then I found out that she had got molested by her stepfather. So,
you know, they probably need to develop a curriculum for the school system, you know, like a high school curriculum, a middle school curriculum that they discuss sex and exploitation and abuse and things of that nature. It should be a mandatory class. You gotta do something to intervene and get to these kids early before they become adults, because if not, the cycle continues. And the cycle.
Yeah, that's a whole different topic.
Yeah,
because my been in battle with Charles County, and I think after the Bell case, they realized that, wait a minute, our curriculum we have, for lack of a better word, sucks. We have not properly prepared these kids for what they need to know because we want to sugarcoat it. Mm-hmm. And you can't sugarcoat sex. You just can't. You can't sugarcoat life, because if you do like this, and if you don't teach them, guess what? Those streets are going to teach them real quick.
That's right. That's right.
So either the parent has to teach them, or the school has to teach them, or those streets are going to teach them.
But I do want to add, though, that a lot of times when you find young girls who go for the okie doke and get trafficked, or are forced into situations that are not normal, it is because, one, they do not get the validation at home, and they're seeking something. And it is important for us to, you know, tell our children that they have value. A lot of girls want to hear that they're pretty and hear that they're valued and they're smart, and they don't get it at home. So the first guy that comes along that happens to be either her age or maybe even older, such in the R. Kelly case, he can tell them anything all day long and get them to do whatever it is that he wants them to do. Because I can almost guarantee that some of the women that in the R. Kelly case, I can almost guarantee that there was an issue of self-esteem, because you can't tell me that you would do just about anything or anything to that nature for a singing career. You know, there's a self-esteem issue there, and that comes from a lack of it at home.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm saying it doesn't make what R. Kelly did or did not do right. You know, I said I still believe he did it, but I do believe in the court system, so hopefully the justice will prevail. But like I had said before, there's no way in hell I'm gonna allow my daughter to go with anyone, and I'm not there, or somebody I know I can trust.
Right.
That's not happening. Ain't that much money in there. I don't care if it's $2 million. It ain't happening, because if something happens, I'm holding myself responsible.
Right. Right.
And is there guilt to go all the way around? To some degree, yes, there is. But the ultimate person to blame would have to be R. Kelly. But they're, in my opinion, I don't know for all those young ladies, but I guarantee you there's somebody on there that said, you know what, here's an opportunity for us to make some money. You go ahead and go. And let them go.
Yep. Yep. Greed and exploitation. That's what it is. Well, guys, we have wound down to 6:27.
Okay, we got parting shots or parting thoughts on something else before we roll.
Last comment. John Brown says R. Kelly was abused when he was a kid. You're right. He said he's probably abused. I believe that. I believe that. Anybody that puts that much effort into, they say he wasn't holding them captive, but I don't believe that either. So
I believe he was too, but I also believe he was old enough to get help once, you know, when you get fit, you know, you were or whatever, you know, something ain't right. So, and I think there was enough
you have to recognize
around him.
Yeah. But he was enjoying it. He was enjoying it. This was his fix, and that's why he didn't get help. He enjoyed it. Okay.
No, I'm saying is he just failed to get the help. It's no different than a drug addict. Know they're a drug addict. They just don't want to get help. You know you're a drug. They know it. They'll tell you, but I'm not going to help. And that was just a choice he made.
Yeah, I tell you. Well, we have come to the end, guys. I'm glad you stepped out of the box on the political thing. I was not really trying to be on
politics,
tonight.
Baby. Next week. Who coming up with the topic next week?
Reggie.
Well, we might talk about the leadership. Talk about leadership. You know, it's been a lot. You know, I was just thinking about. You know, it's been a lot of conversation about the leadership skills of some of our sports players, some of the people in our community, and how they lead. And I think at this day and time, leadership is very important in our community. You know, how we develop our leaders and how we lead our people. You know, it's a very important thing. Just a thought.
And what I will suggest, and I said it last week, if for anyone who's out there, if there's something that you want to, a hot topic you want to talk about, Tony's gonna let you know where to leave that at, because you know she says it so well. So I'm gonna let her sum it up. But or if you're a friend of my page, you can just inbox me, and we definitely want to talk about things that you want to talk about, but also things that we feel that will impact the community. So if you have something out there, definitely shoot us a shout or shoot me a shout, and I'll pass it on.
All right. Nice and clean exit.
If you like Real World News Facebook page, you can post it right there.
Yeah, that is very
Right,
true.
Real World
Real
News
World
TV Facebook page.
Yeah, Facebook page.
All right,
Real
thank you,
World
Mr.
News.
Jacqueline, Mr. Brown. Good to see you both. I do want to say thank you to everybody who had joined in tonight. You know, it really means a lot to us when you do support the network and come here to these shows every week. But I do invite you to come on back next week on Tuesday. This is every Tuesday night on Real World News TV. We have Mr. Derek Terry with us, and it's so good to have him. Again, Chair Ann Tappan will be out until the end of April, early May. So we hope everything works out with her and all is well. But make sure that you get on Facebook right now and like Real World News TV. That way you can get all of the updates. You get everything that's going on with the show. You'll see information on anything that's coming up with subject matter, and like Reggie said, send us your show idea. Also, I invite you to go over to our website at hottopicstalkradio.com, and there you can also catch up on the shows. You can find out more about the hosts here on the network, as well as there are some resources in case you need stuff. So head on over to the website at hottopicstalkradio.com. We're also on YouTube under Hot Topics Talk Radio Network. So head on over to YouTube and you can find out every show that has ever been produced and aired, whether it was the old way or the new way. You'll find everything that you need right there on Hot Topics Talk Radio Network on YouTube. Come on back here next week, as we do every Tuesday night at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 p.m. Central, and 8:30 on the East Coast, right here on Real World News TV. Did I miss anything, you guys?
No.
Nope.
No?
Sorry, no ma'am.
No balls. No balls.
No balls.
I'm gonna cut you guys off. Stop it. I am not. All right, you guys. So again, come on back next week on Tuesday and join us for another show here on Real World News TV. Make sure that you catch me, Yvonne Baker, and Chris Smith tomorrow night on Hot Topics Talk Radio. We got a great show lined up for you. But tomorrow's night topic is the games men and women play. Oh, that should be good. I can't wait. So come on back here with Hot Topics Talk Radio TV with me, Yvonne Baker, and Chris Smith. We'll see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 10 o'clock Central, and 11 o'clock on the East Coast. All right, you guys, we are out of here. You guys have a fantastic rest of your evening. And if I don't see you tomorrow night, a wonderful weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.
Later. You too. Peace and blessings.
Real World News TV, you are clear. Thank you for joining in tonight and watching the show tonight, everybody. Thank you for your continued support. We love you. Good night.